Hi everyone, Dr. Mark Petering here. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 secrets to effective part writing. Let's dive right in. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you're starting your part writing assignment is you want to have a nice big open chord. I like to do my examples in C major for this channel. And here we have a nice open chord with the root doubled. It is so important to have the root doubled in your first chord. So here I have the root in the bass, I have the root in the soprano, I have the chordal fifth in the tenor, and the chordal third in the alto. Great starting chord. Another example of an outstanding starting chord, another 1 chord here, would be an even bigger distance between the bass and tenor. So here's a perfect octave, and I'm doubling the root in the bass and the tenor. And of course, then I'll put my chordal fifth in the alto, and I'll put a chordal third in the soprano. Okay, so these are 2 outstanding ways to start your part writing. So again, practice these formations. Literally just rewrite them several times just to get this idea sort of just become natural. When you start any chord progression and you're allowed to begin the way you'd like to, start with that perfect fifth between bass and tenor. Start with that perfect octave between bass and tenor and have a nice big open chord like these 2 chords. Okay, so let's look at how a nice big open space chord can help us with our second principle, the stepwise motion common tone game. So here I have a 1-5-1 progression prepared. I've identified the notes as C, E, G in the 1 chord, and of course in the 5 chord we have G, B, and D. And so now let's actually play that stepwise motion and common tone game. Clearly the common tone is the G, so I'm going to keep that common. And then we have a choice. Let's look at the C here. I could go to a B or a D, both would be stepwise. Let's try the D, see what happens. So I put the D here. And when I put the D here, it forces me to look at the fact that I'm going to have a huge leap between the E and then the B, whether it's here or up here, okay? And so we don't like big leaps, okay? We like stepwise motion and common tone. So I'm going to erase that, okay? And I'm going to put that D down here. And then the B can go here, and look at that. It's all stepwise. Okay? So there's a little bit of trial and error to this process, but again, if you're flexible and you can trust these 3 principles, you're going to do quite well with your part writing. Okay? And then again, look at this. We're going back to a 1 chord, so we have a G common tone again, and then stepwise motion, it would make sense to just go back to that original formation. And again, please hit the space bar if you want to pause the video so you can keep up with the lesson. Okay? Good. Now the third principle. Let's talk about what do I mean by sharps going up and flats going down. And obviously, we know that a sharp raises a note and a flat lowers a note. But what I'm talking about is how does a note that is raised, how does that resolve? Does it resolve upward or downward? And it actually, we'll see, it resolves typically upward. So in advanced chromatic harmony, you're going to see a progression like this. And if you don't know this progression yet or haven't seen this progression yet, that's okay. I'm just trying to prove a conceptual point here, so just bear with me. But obviously, the G is going to be a root for a 5 chord in C, and 5-7 of 5, that was going to give me a D dominant chord, and we could score it nicely with a big open chord like this. Okay? And note, I had to raise a note. The F had to be raised to an F sharp to make this a major chord, right? And so when I would resolve this, typically, I would have that raised note go upward. Okay? So that's an example of a raised note continuing then in an upward trajectory. How about a 5/7 of 4 going to 4 in C major? So then this is going to be a C dominant seventh going to an F. And in order for that to happen, I have to lower the B to a B flat. Okay, so this is a lowered note. And again, this is going to go downward. It's also the chordal seventh. Okay, and again, I like to triple my root here. Okay, so again, these three principles are really powerful. You start with a nice big open chord, play the stepwise motion common tone game, and then again, when you get into more chromatic harmony where you have notes that are outside of the scale, raised notes tend to resolve upwards, lowered notes tend to resolve downwards. Thanks for joining us. See you on the next lesson.